Hey everyone, thanks for joining Max Value, a podcast aimed at helping business owners and their professional advisors achieve maximum value. We talk about business valuation, exit planning, global staffing, and basically anything else I find interesting. Today, we're doing the anything else. I'm your host, Ben Towne, and today we are joined by Megan Thompson. We're going to discuss the new blockbuster film, The Accountant 2, starring Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal. So, real quick, spoilers. There are going to be a lot of spoilers. We have to go into the movie, and actually even for the original film as well. So go back and watch anything that you need to watch in order to catch up so that we don't spoil it for you. All right, Megan, you and I just went to watch the movie. It was a nice matinee pricing. We're accountants, right? We went to watch the accountant movie part two.
Expense.
It was, well, I don't know. We'll see about that. We'll see about that. This is being recorded right now, so I just want to make sure that we're on the right side of things. What were your original impressions?
I liked it. It's sort of a movie that is kind of my speed. There's like bad guys and like fun like little twists, also funny brother stuff, which I love. Guys getting punched and falling out of windows and stuff. That's always fun. It was a little bit longer than I think it needed to be. And I think some of the plot was a little disjointed. I was taking notes so that we could do this podcast afterwards. And a lot of my notes were like, why did that just happen? Or why are all these guys have machine guns? Or where do you get henchmen? Like things like that. So yeah, where do you get henchmen? I don't know. Is there a henchman store?
I mean, maybe that's something you outsource. I don't know.
Perhaps.
The- I liked it too. I got to be honest. And having just rewatched the original one, I think it does stand up better than the original one, at least from a entertainment standpoint. And by the way, I just want to say thank you to all the creatives out there who create stuff so that we can criticize it. Otherwise, it would just be all us boring accountant types. So I'm glad that this is out there in the universe. It's even though it's not high art. Let's be honest, but I was entertained. I was entertained.
Definitely.
All right, so just real quick, because it has been a few years since the original film. The original film came out in 2016. Let me give you a little bit of a recap on that before we jump into the new one. So basically, The Accountant, part one, before there was a part two, is about Christian Wolf. He's a math genius with autism. You find that out later in the film, who works as a CPA doing his quiet thing in his quiet little office. But actually, on the side, he does forensic accounting for criminal organizations. So in other words, basically, when people steal from criminals, the criminals call him to find out who and how and what happened. So he's working for the bad guys to find out the bad guys. A little moral ambiguity. Great. And he's autistic. So that's kind of his big character trait. His people skills aren't good, and it's really a good thing that his dad gave him some special forces training so that he could kick ass anyway. At some point, Christian gets hired by a robotics company to look into some suspicious activity flagged by Dana. Oh, yay, Anna Kendrick. Batfleck starts digging and finds a huge embezzlement scheme, but once he uncovers it, people are dying. So Christian and Dana are in danger. He's got to kick some butt and use his crazy accountant brain to stay alive and figure it all out. And as a B plot, which becomes important later, it turns out that all the while he was doing his forensic stuff, Christian was feeding tips to the Treasury Department, FinCEN, in fact. And throughout the original film, they're trying to track him down. It's not totally clear why, but I think just to get some closure on who's been giving them these awesome leads all over. So he's clearly got a moral code. That's in contrast to one of the other main characters, Braxton Bernthal, who seems to be just a killer for hire. And really, at the end, he's the ultimate baddie that Christian has to duke it out with. But plot twist, Braxton is actually his long-lost brother. Glock drop. Movie over. All right, so that's Accountant Part 1, The Accountant Part 1. Let's dive right into The Accountant Part 2. Megan, you were going to do the recap.
We just watched The Accountant 2, and how that starts is with the assassination of Raymond King, who's a former FinCEN director, who is in a bar where they're playing bingo, and he meets with the assassin Anais, and he's looking for her help in locating a Salvadoran family. During their meeting, he is assassinated, leaving behind a message on his arm, "Find the accountant."
And I had to look it up, but apparently Anais means grace or mercy
Oh.
in French.
Huh. And then we see the new director of FinCEN, who goes to identify the body and sees the message and seeks out the help of Christian Wolf to assist in the investigation.
The accountant.
He's the accountant. So meanwhile, Christian's living his life as the accountant, and being generally awkward in life. And he goes to a speed dating experience and games the system apparently, and has an analytical approach to like figure out their algorithm, and tries to do that with some ladies and still doesn't work, because they're trying to establish he's an awkward guy.
And this is despite the fact that he looks like Ben Affleck.
Yeah, that's
I
what they're all
mean,
excited to meet him because he's Ben Affleck. And then
I,
they meet him and they're like, hmm. Although I will say the entire time he was at the speed dating, I kept turning to Ben and saying, "He's perfect. What's wrong with him?" Because he kept talking about
he's
accounting.
Megan's type.
Right? He was like, "Well, I analyzed that, and so I connected with his character at that
Just
point."
getting a little flushed right there in the movie theater seat there, and yeah, it was
Funny. So then Christian gets involved with Mary Beth. They meet each other, and he gets her involved in the case in order to figure out what Ray King was up to. And he decides that it's time to bring in his brother Braxton to delve deeper into the case and help out with sort of the assassination piece of it.
punching dudes, shooting dudes, whatever.
Punching dudes. Yeah, Um, they end up having some brotherly interactions. They go to a bar. They beat up some guys together.
I loved that, by the
That
way.
was great. Ben Affleck got some girl's number.
Yeah,
So
it was a total win for the accounting dorks out there. And I gotta say, I mean, I didn't go to the Saddle Rack much locally here, but being awkward for the first 1 second he was doing line dancing, I'm like, oh, I identify with this guy. But then he got all crazy smart and just was able to pick it up over, right away. And by the way, one of the things that the filmmakers were trying to say is that not only is Chris Wolf autistic, but he also has savant syndrome, basically. So that's why he's so crazy smart with math. I looked this up too. NIH basically says persons with serious mental disabilities, including autistic disorder, who have some kind of quote unquote island of genius, which stands in marked contrast to their overall handicap. That's a paraphrase. Zhuzhed it up a little bit, but thank you NIH for coming up with that.
like, word to my neurodivergent peeps. Yeah.
Right.
So that happens. Apparently, if you're an Italian, you're really good at line dancing. I don't know. I've also been to the Saddle Rack. I'm not good at it. Those people are amazing. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know how they do it. But they all start then investigating this particular Salvadorian family. Christian and Braxton figure out that they came from El Salvador to Los Angeles, and they learn that the family's son Alberto is being held captive in a prison camp in Juarez. Then Anais's background / Edith. Her background is
Turns out her name's also Edith.
also Edith. And she turns out she was the mom in the photo who had a terrible accident and acquired savant syndrome. So
It's like $6 Million Man, kind of, but
yeah.
but she comes out of surgery like super hot and with this yen to just crush people.
Yeah. Which we'll get into that, but I didn't really understand that whole line of that, how that happened. But basically to figure her out, she ends up being contracted to murder the director of FinCEN, Mary Beth
Medina.
Medina, uh, stabs her but does not actually kill her, because she they have a fight and she sees a picture of her family on the wall and then she leaves. Um, and then everyone goes to the Juarez compound. Christian.
Wait, I gotta insert this part, right? Because what syndrome did she have? It was, do you remember?
He acquired savant syndrome.
Which which you could shorten to ASS, which I did, of course, immediately. So with this badass syndrome, she was able to kick some ass. It was pretty wonderful.
Yes, yes. So then they go, Christian and Braxton go down to Juarez to save all the kids, just in the nick of time, apparently.
Got him. Yeah.
Because they were apparently it's really easy to find. I don't know where you find henchmen. Also, I don't know where you find henchmen are just like really chill about just murdering children. Like, no big deal. They were all just gonna dig a mass grave and kill all these kids. That was pretty dark for me. That got
It was
like a little bit.
well,
Like,
and let's yeah, and let's not forget this is all like on the back of just basic human traffic, not basic, I don't even know what you call it, just human trafficking with, prostitution and just work, forced labor and that sort of thing, which is why all those kids were there to force generally the mothers, because they popped all the fathers, I think, all the mothers to work in the US. So it's a whole, yeah, this had a very dark undertone.
it really did. And I was just, yeah, there were some parts where I was like, it's very dark. And I know there was supposed to be, there was like lots of explosions and shooting and stuff, but they were like, there was this house of kids that were being kept. And there were like so many people guarding this house with machine
Oh,
guns. And I didn't
so
understand
many,
what they
like
were expecting. I
one per
guess they
kid,
were expecting Christian Wolf and Braxton like to show up, but
almost as if, yeah,
as
almost as
if they were
if.
going to show up. So they save the kids, they save the day, uh, and they then get some of her memories back. She finds the guy who kidnapped them, who is Burke, who all along had been sort of the bad guy in the story, like peripherally. And her son gets taken to the Harbor Neuroscience Academy, which is
Where Christian Wolf grew up, basically.
where
Yeah,
Christian Wolf grew up, and all of his hacker friends are there who have helped him throughout
right.
the story.
Because they're all savants too.
Yeah.
Don't forget,
Yes.
for some reason.
For some reason, they're all savants who can hack the planet. And then Christian and Braxton, never mind, that's a very specific reference. And then Christian and Braxton become buds. It's a buddy movie. It's a blow up movie. It's a dark saving kids from.
It's got a message. I mean, I do love the fact that all the bad guys are real bad, and nobody is sad at all that all these dudes get it. And it was basically like, okay, you know what? We can't have Nazis anymore, so we're just gonna have these human trafficker guys. I think human traffickers might be like the new Nazis of the of film, and that's you know what? That's okay with me. That's okay with me. I mean, I'm gonna take the very controversial stand that human traffickers suck.
Also suck. Also suck.
Also suck.
Nazis suck. Human traffickers suck. We're not fans. Oh, do we have the same mug
Oh,
again? 100%. Um,
chilling, chilling, and
so
chilling.
let's dive into the accounting issues, shall
Let's.
we?
I mean, we better.
Yeah. So I mean, it opens in FinCEN. So
Yeah.
that's that's
There's
kind
accounting going on there for sure.
I'm sure there's accounting. I mean, first it's just testing out shares, but there's
They don't really
accounting.
show any accounting. It's true. Like
Yeah.
none. Yeah.
The first time we see accounting type things happening is when he goes to the dating thing,
Okay.
the dating
Yeah.
event, right? And so he goes to the dating event, and you can see that all these women are lined up for him. And I immediately thought it was just because he was Ben Affleck and people thought he
Me
was
too.
attractive.
Yeah. Me too.
And yes, but apparently he had figured out the algorithm and reverse engineered it. Now, Ben, I want to ask you about this because I am an accountant, a forensic accountant. I don't know how to reverse engineer an algorithm. Is that something that I should know? Is that something we know?
I mean, I don't want to, like put the spotlight on you, but like Can you spell algorithm?
I can spell
Okay,
algorithm.
okay.
I'm a very good
I won't
speller.
test you. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
But no, seriously though, like making a predictive model where you can, find the most attractive traits or something from, how people have matched up before. I don't know. It was, I tell you what though, wish I had that about 30 years ago, you know?
Well, it didn't even work. It didn't work. It
Oh,
doesn't
no, it
apply
worked, man.
any
Did you
of that.
see how many like 40-year-old, middle-aged hotties were there? I mean, they were
Right,
all
but
lined
he
up for
didn't
him.
get with it. None of them liked him
Well,
because,
that's because he's unlikable.
well, yeah, he's a little bit unlikable. He's actually not he's not too bad.
He's
Uh,
not actually that unlikable. I agree. And like
so
you said, it's your type. So,
so that's he's not my type. But I mean, the algorithm thing, I was like, that's not really accounting. But then every time he's talking to these ladies, he's talking about depreciation.
oh yeah.
He was talking logic. Ladies, that's accountant's wheelhouse, man. Where,
Oh, I thought it was hot. I mean, come on. Like, I was right there with you.
yeah, where the ladies was like, do you believe in true or love at first sight?
No,
And he's like, no, that's not
no.
logical. And I'm like, absolutely, yes, my dude, for sure. Talk about logic. Let's talk about depreciation.
That's
I was like
right.
all in. Like,
Yeah, I couldn't tell if they had a little montage of him like telling all the ladies about a depreciation trick. And I wasn't sure I'm not sure if it's true or, you don't have to go back and restate your, amend your tax return if you overtake depreciation, blah, 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 blah. I don't know, but he thought it was very important. And I mean, he probably thought it was helpful.
yeah, I wish I could have gone back and been like, what is he exactly talking about?
Yeah, what code section is that? Come on, man. Give it up.
Yeah, so that's just like, so he has the dating scene. Then he meets Mary Beth. Oh, is that her name?
Yeah, Mary Beth Medina.
Their relationship is a little odd. I don't really understand why I mean, she finds him because she was told to.
Well, she finds him because she was told to, but like the connection between Ray King and her is that Ray King was the original guy that Christian Wolf was feeding all this information to. Like, hey, here are all these bad dudes. They're doing bad things, and they had me investigate them. So here you go, find them. Then when he was retiring, apparently Mary Beth Medina was the heir, and she got all those great leads, and now she's director because
But
of it.
like he must have told her about it because she
Yeah,
figured out how to contact him like very easily. With like
yeah. Well, I mean, she was in the original movie, so I mean, she was at least around
she was
all of it.
available for that.
Yeah,
Um, so she's there with him. She wakes up with perfect makeup on in the morning. I don't know if you noticed that. I
I
noticed
did not. That is not a thing that I noticed.
like perfect. Anyway, and so then he's staring like they're staring at the wall with all the pictures and everything
Ah,
on it, and there's tax returns there, which is how he figures out how to connect her to the kid. And I'd like to talk about this because
okay.
I was a tax preparer for 15 years and I did not understand what he was talking about. I got that the first 2 years had like a quarter of the amount of income as the third year or something. So
Yes.
like it went from like 14,000 or like around 20 to
14 to
14,
60, the
14, and
third
then it was
year.
like
Yeah.
60 something or 70s. Yeah. So it was like I don't remember exactly what the
Yeah.
number, but and then that she was like claiming a dependency with the kid,
Right.
and then she was married filing separate.
Yeah,
Something
I
about
didn't
I was trying
follow
to
it.
follow it, right? So I was trying to follow it, and I was like, wait a minute. Then we find out later that her husband was like murdered,
Yeah.
and that the kid's in Juarez. So she's not married. She doesn't have a dependent. I was just very confused. And what I was like, what did I miss? I missed
No,
something.
you didn't miss anything. I mean, I do want to go back immediately to that segment and look at it
I
again,
think we
but
should watch.
I don't think you missed anything. I think that may just not that may just be some they had to figure out something to say to
Yeah.
get the dots connected, and it wasn't really getting there. I will say that being able to look at a series of tax returns like that and come up with a narrative,
Yeah.
that's real business.
Mhm.
That's real forensics. However, well, honestly, however, normally we're not looking at 1040 EZs. Did you happen to notice that? Those are 1040 EZs.
Yeah.
But the uh, usually we're diving into a million pages or at least electronic pages of a tax return. But you can tell a lot of things, going from year to year to year on a kind of a longitudinal basis. What are we looking at here and making a narrative?
Yeah, I mean, it made me think of like when I calculate marital standard of living, where I'm looking at, what were the parties earning during those years, and was it even, was there a spike? If there's a spike in income, then
Right.
you want to look into what the reason is for that. So that on that its face, like, yes, I agree. I didn't understand the concept of how, like, and even what he said made sense, like, oh, she had a dependent, so she must have had the kid, and then her income went like this, so this must have happened. But I was like, wait, why would
And he was like,
anything?
"I am 100% sure." I'm like, "You
Yeah,
why?"
I don't understand why those things would have been happening,
Yeah,
or why she would have also do. I mean, I mean, undocumented people file tax returns, um,
generally, yeah, as
but
far as I know.
why would she be claiming her son in Juarez? I mean, just things like that. Um,
Right.
so after that, still more accounting. So the first half of this movie, there's
There's
a
some
bunch
accounting.
of accounting things.
Yeah.
Then he goes to the pizza place because he somehow connects the dots
Like
that
a
she's
pizza
working at the pizza
manufacturing place. Like I think
manufacturer.
this dude, okay. I think this guy who he doesn't really become important ever, except for he's kind of the US side linchpin for all this crap going on.
Mhm.
Um, I think he has several different businesses, right? Because he had the sushi business or the fishing business and then this pizza manufacturing
Burke
business.
guy, Burke,
Or am
yeah.
I conflating two guys? I'm not sure.
No, no, I think
Confused.
was Burke was involved in all of this. I
Yeah, I
think he
think
was
so.
the through line bad guy. So
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
he was like he had the fish business,
He
the
had a
fish
fish
fry,
business.
and I think he was part of the pizza business. If we're wrong, let us know. I don't know, but that's I thought he was kind of overarching on all of this stuff. But one thing I noticed about Burke though is like for being this guy who's like this super bad guy who's got his hand in all these things, like he like really had some like squalid like living. Like it was like live like
Yeah.
his
Oh, you know what? You know what? It's because you're right, but it's because it is actually two different guys. There's the
oh
first
was
guy with the
it?
pizza who got his
Yeah.
butt kicked, and then there's Burke who's like the mastermind. They're kind of just, I mean,
I just assumed Burke was part of the pizza thing and the guy running the pizza place was just like part of it. Like he was the underling.
some things are not totally clear in this movie.
It was not also not necessary for the plot.
Really not necessary. Although the fashion in which the pizza guy gets murdered is awesome. I'll leave that as a tiny little Easter egg there.
Did the pizza guy get murdered?
Oh yeah, Christian totally pops him. He's done.
I don't remember that. Okay, I'm gonna have to like watch this again.
Yeah, yeah.
I just remember that I remember them going to the pizza place and to get back on an accounting issue.
Sorry.
No, no, no. We can talk about other stuff, but I just well, like the pizza place, they're all running these pizzas through, and he actually does something
He
that
does a real
is
thing.
very like forensic accounting that I would actually do, which is something that I talk about when attorneys call me and say, "Hey, how do I figure out if this person's underreporting their income?" And one of the ways is to look at things like how much you would expect them to make based on what they're producing and what they can make. So, like, usually my example is a laundromat, because it's really easy to kind of skim quarters from a laundromat or whatever.
Cash business.
Right. It's any cash business, but
Mhm.
like the laundromat's an easy example because you can look at their water bill and you can look at that as a function of revenues or a restaurant where you can know how many tables are supposed to turn over in the app. I mean, this is very similar to that
You,
to
you
what
count the napkins. Actually, that reminds me of one of my old mentors, Steve Reese, RIP. He always had a story about doing a forensic investigation on I think it was hotel service, food service, where he ended up counting all the napkins, and that was how it led them to the thing. Maybe he made it up, but it sounded super good when he said it.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, those are things that you can do. Looking at that kind of stuff. Um, the the thing that threw me off was the pizza guy said, "Oh, ask me anything about the books, and I'll know it." And he asked him what his EBITDA was.
No, he didn't, right?
He did it?
No, he said he spelled it out.
Oh, he said, yeah, earnings before income, that depreciation, whatever. He said the whole thing.
Right.
And which nobody does if
No, it
you're
doesn't.
accounting. But I guess if you're speaking to someone who you think is a layperson, you would spell it out. But the guy knew off the top of his head what is
It was like, yeah, $4.3 million dollars. Okay, really?
I would not know the answer to that question.
Well, plus that sounded like a pretty amazing pizza business, I gotta say. So to be clear, what he caught him at was overstating his revenue and his taxable net income so that he could launder from other businesses, right? And the other businesses turned out to be the human trafficking part. But this guy's talking about this pizza place doing, 2/3 of his business delivery, blah, 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 but making like $20 million or something. I don't know. I mean, when I've seen pizza businesses, they're not quite that affluent.
I also didn't understand why they had delivery, and he was talking about selling slices, but they had like an assembly line.
It was
And
crazy.
I was like, is this frozen pizza? Like, what's
It
happening?
looked like maybe they were making frozen. Yeah, agreed,
And then
agreed.
why is he talking about delivery? And like, it was just very confusing. But either way, but I think you're right that what he's talking about here is money laundering, which is where you're looking for over reporting. Whereas if you're looking for, someone trying to maybe reduce their income available for support, in my case, or,
Right. Different kind of fraud.
reduce the value of their business for one purpose or the other. Yeah, it's the other way around. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's about where the forensic accounting issues end.
Yep, 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 yep. Golly, I'm trying to even think because, in the first one there was a lot of like corporate governance kind of discussion, about, we could have discussion about like, what was missed, what would normally be done, yada, yada, yada. But this one is just kind of a straight up, there's some bad stuff going on and he's got to find it out, in a mystery, which he does. So it
Yeah.
was good. But there's a lot of, cybersecurity stuff, I will say.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the cybersecurity stuff.
Yeah.
Um, no way did they hack some random. So, first of all, some random lady takes a selfie right when the assassin walks by, just by chance. They see her on the camera. They're able to figure out who she is, hack her phone, get into her computer through her electricity bill or
I
something.
think her smart thermostat. So apparently your Nest can figure
Yeah.
out how to get on your
And
computer.
get into her computer and then somehow get onto her pictures and like scroll through quickly while they distract. I mean, that part was to me
Bonkers. I mean,
that was
look,
not real. Like,
I'm paranoid enough to think that maybe that's true, which is why I don't have any smart anything in my house. However, I don't know. That's a dang stretch.
that was a stretch. That was
And of course, who's doing it, right? Is all these all the residents of the what was it Haven
yeah.
Neuroscience Institute? I can't remember where Christian grew up. Basically, it's full of autistic people,
Harbor.
children.
Called
Harbor,
Harbor.
sorry, Harbor. Even Harbor,
Neuroscience
same thing.
Academy.
Safe harbor, safe haven. Um, Neuroscience Academy. So but apparently, and I don't know, they don't make it clear whether the administration there actually knows about this, but they have a digital war room somewhere in the bowels of this, uh, uh, Professor Xavier's freaking mansion, right?
I've been
Um,
wondering about that. I was like, why are they all just in this room all the time? Are they like working? What's
Yeah.
happening?
Well, okay, so his handler, Christian's handler, is one of his old friends from the Harbor
Yeah.
Academy, which is great. And she was, doing the money penny thing with, on her computer, much like this setup that we're looking at right here. And, would so I was like, okay, I could buy that. She's on her computer, she's doing her computer thing. It's great. But then, yeah, they open up on this cave, this bat cave of freaking hundreds of screens and monitors and just people doing everything. They can hack into, predator drones. They can hack into somebody's cell phone and all they can find footage that, the police and everybody else cannot find and all that stuff. So, look, it's a movie.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it.
No,
It's a
no.
movie, but
My disbelief was suspended.
that was a big one. That I'm like, if even it, you know what? Even if they had all the kids there doing it just on their laptop or whatever, that would have been better, I think.
Also, why does this Harbor Academy have like the greatest like bandwidth of any? That's
Oh,
like
for real.
apparently they're just their Wi-Fi is amazing. So that and like why are they all I mean I guess I get it now that I realize like they were at the academy, but I was like, why are they all geographically in the same place? Like that's not necessary for hacking stuff. But
True.
it's part of that
But they
savant.
did happen to be. Yeah, they did
They
happen.
have to be in this
Yeah.
academy. I don't know. Um, there's the lot. I would almost say that this is an accounting thing where they go to the bar, the brother,
What? Oh,
Braxton Christian,
I'm gonna follow you here. What are you talking about? Let's do it.
and he's watching people line dance, and that's when he realized, oh, I can do that. Where I was like, oh, because like
Okay.
he's not cool, but he can like follow instructions, and I was like, okay, I can see where like
Well, yeah, you're right. And I think that has to do with kind of how at least certain expressions of ASD, autism disorder can autism spectrum disorder, sorry about that, can be found and is kind of somewhat parallel to some of the things that, also make accountants good at what they do. Certain accountants good at what they do is the pattern recognition, the really having a mind towards procedure and steps and logic and that sort of thing. Now we know. In fact, let's just go there. I mean, you know, there. I've known a bunch of accountants who arguably could be on the autism spectrum. I don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. But at the end of the day, whether they're just shy or actually neurodivergent or whatever, sometimes those same characteristics are really good at doing accounting tasks.
yeah.
So it makes sense. I love putting numbers in columns. I do. I want those columns to balance even. It's amazing. And also, my wife sometimes says I am on the spectrum too. So whatever. Um,
You're not formally diagnosed, I guess.
no, no, exactly. And
Well,
oh,
yeah.
good.
I was just saying, speaking as someone who is formally diagnosed neurodivergent with ADHD, not autism spectrum disorder, I do see that where we have brains that do different things and see things a little bit differently than maybe our uh, neurotypical brethren.
And I tell you, like it is really hard to go either side of that and use a term that doesn't make somebody feel like crap, right? Neurotypical. Oh, you're typical.
That's
You're the fat part of the bell curve, baby. You're neurodivergent. Is that good? I mean, it's not non-neurotypical, which is inherently bad too, I guess. So I don't know.
I
No,
don't know.
nobody feels good coming out of that. But
I think it's good. I see it as a bit of a superpower. Like, it helps me with very specific things in my life. So I
Mhm.
don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, obviously I don't, but
Well, it's you and your excellent social skills. The one thing I wanted to really point out though is, for forensic accounting in particular, accounting overall and forensic accounting in particular, actually, you really, really, really have to be able to work with people and read them and interpret what they're trying to tell you because they don't know half the time. You have to be able to then communicate the findings that you have, and you have to be able to talk about the story in a clear way. So, like infographics and getting to the really simplifying
Mhm.
pretty complex transactions and such into very simple terms, not because other people don't, are stupid, but because they don't know the things that we know. And so when you're talking to a judge or a jury or
Mhm.
an attorney, it really does have to be in a way that makes sense to, I'll say a normal person, not, people like us. Although like I will say forensic accountants do tend to be exceptional even within accounting. And I'm
Mhm.
and I'm gonna own this one and fight me. The They're the outgoing ones of the accountants. They're the ones who are gonna look at your shoes when they talk. That kind of thing. I think it is because not only do you have to have all those skills and those traits and characteristics, but you do have to be able to socialize and communicate and all of those things on top of it.
So I will give you a little bit of pushback on that
Okay.
because while I agree that if you are the client facing person, or you're looking
Ah,
to testify, for sure you need all that. But if you are just doing the analytics and everything, again, might be a superpower to, maybe you're not able to communicate that effectively through, language and reading people, but maybe you make beautiful spreadsheets, which I am always a big fan of.
all right, calm down.
You know how I feel
No,
about spreadsheets.
no, hey, look, I'm not sure what I was talking to you about this, but I mean, back when my wife and I were getting married, well, excuse me, put our invite list on a spreadsheet, color coded and everything. It was amazing. Loved
And
it.
everything. I have everything on the spreadsheet. I have a karaoke list on the spreadsheet.
Oh,
I
oh,
have
you
every
did.
time
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. Every time we go on vacation, put on the spreadsheet. Anyway, we're getting way off
Well, we're
topic.
getting a little off topic, a little personal here, I guess. What are the other things? So I mean, point taken, and you're right. That there's absolutely room for everyone, but there's room for everyone on a team. And I will say that's kind of the point and counterpoint here is that nobody's really doing the Christian Wolf thing and just doing it by themselves. There's always a team. It doesn't happen overnight. You're working on, millions of transactions, hundreds of thousands of transactions, and you are working hard together to make it work. So, I mean, somebody who's like completely antisocial probably wouldn't be a good forensic accountant. On the other hand, you don't have to be a social butterfly. Maybe if you want to be that testifying expert, I don't know. But at the end of the day, no, it's a team. I mean, and maybe that's the theme of the movie, right? Daredevil and the Punisher team up at the end and kick some butt, and it was great. And I did very much enjoy, all the blowing up and grenades and all the stuff. That was
Yeah.
pretty cool too.
Well, and he seems to do better when they're together as a team. They go line
Nice.
dancing. He gets the girl's number. He comes out of his shell a little bit with his brother there. But yeah, I just the second half of the movie, when we were talking about, the accounting pieces, the second half of the movie went real sideways for me with like, I mean, it was great. It was great, but it was just nothing made sense after that point where they were like, I kept thinking like, is there like I said, like, is there a henchman store where you get these henchmen? Why are there so many guys
Oh
guarding
shoot! Wait,
these
wait, wait, wait,
guards?
wait, wait, wait. Maybe those guys, those mercenaries, maybe they're trafficked too.
They were also trafficked,
Maybe they were trafficked to be
and you give
mercenaries.
them guns?
Oh, I guess that doesn't hold up,
Wouldn't
does
they
it?
then leave?
Yeah,
Also,
okay.
like, why were they so willing to murder children? Like, that seemed insane to me.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Um, and like, and then just random thoughts. Why were there so many barrels at this place?
Or a million barrels.
They were
Million.
like hiding behind barrels and rolling around. There's
Uh,
trucks open everywhere they can just go.
Bulletproof barrels, right? I mean, they were
Apparently, the walls.
bulletproof tires. Yeah,
You can also shoot through the walls, but not if they were standing by them. Apparently.
right. Right,
Remember, he
right.
was standing behind the wall. You could see bullet holes in the walls with light shining through, but not when you're standing behind the wall.
You're correct.
And then at one point I wrote
They were a
down
little bit too bulletproof for my taste.
a little too
I will
bullet,
say a little bit, little bit.
but they weren't up high, only down low where they were.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, well, I just meant the
oh,
protagonists were
the
a little too
protagonists
bulletproof.
were, yeah. I mean, Braxton gets shot in the arm, whatever. And then when the guy goes to shoot him, he stands there and points the gun at his head and like starts swearing at him in Spanish. Why is he doing? Why is he monologuing? What's happening? You know what happens when you monologue.
Yes. Well, maybe he's never seen the movies. I don't know. Maybe.
And then I wrote, still no accounting. Why isn't there more accounting? And then my last note was crime scene chair, because she finally finds a chair that she likes. Are you allowed to take home things from a crime scene? Is that just like how the federal government works? You just show up at a crime
Now that's
scene?
an open question. Now here,
comfy.
this is a legit question, I think. Because, well, I mean, first off, if you're going to be like, the main villain, you're going to have a nice chair, right? First off, so that makes sense. That tracks. But then,
I'm like a Herman Miller. Those things are expensive.
yeah, oh yeah, she had good options too, for sure.
Yeah.
The I don't know who gets the stuff after a crime scene is processed and done. So, but I mean, it's gonna be years, right? But like after that, where does it go? Does it just get destroyed? Does it get auctioned off? I think it gets auctioned off.
I don't know. Why didn't she just look at the tag of the chair and
Yeah,
see what brand it was and then
she's the director. She can afford it. She can buy one.
It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
So that was the end of the movie where she finds her chair and it's like, yeah. And then the boys ride off into the sunset to go hiking, apparently, because they're
Oh, and then the kid. They do save the kid. Great stuff. Good stuff there. And somehow, from a picture, Christian Wolf decides that this kid is also autistic. How
I didn't understand that either. I was like, why?
don't know. He's one of us, is what he says, right? And I'm like, how do you know that? You don't know that, but it turns out totally true because the kid is on his way to Harbor Academy to be an X-Man, and like I don't know what I don't get it.
Yeah,
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
He got saved. That was the important thing.
He gets saved somehow through tax returns. You find out that he's connected, and then through his picture, you know that he belongs.
That's right.
Harbor whatever academy,
neuroscience. Yeah, ugh, the NSA apparently. No, HSA. No, health safe. Yeah, right. HSA. The only thing I want to part with is I do think that on the one hand, it's nice that neurodivergent people have a really cool superhero. Basically, I mean, he's basically a superhero, right? He barely gets hurt in this film. I don't even know if he does.
He doesn't get anything. Yeah,
Bernthal gets messed up, but but Ben Affleck doesn't. The only problem with that is because him and even all the kids at Harbor, they're all kind of superhero-y. And basically they all have these, they're all savants. They're all blah, 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 blah. Whereas, I mean, that's just not real life. I mean, just because you may have a disability doesn't mean you have to be, a superhero to compensate. You know what I mean?
But like most people also don't have a grenade launcher in their Airstream. So
totally.
Real life is not where we're going with this.
I mean, I would, but
yeah, but I think the representation is good.
Positive. It is positive.
It's positive, except he murders people. Not great. Not great.
Well, okay. He homicides people. He kills people.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily murder. Always. Okay. Sometimes it's murder.
Still murder.
Anyway.
I mean, we didn't even talk about the sniper guy who, for some reason, has like really bad why would you murder somebody while they're in?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do it at a different time when you were less likely to?
When he was in the trunk or something.
Yeah.
And sorry. Now you triggered me.
Sorry.
maybe I'm wrong. Somebody call me on this, but it looked like that dude had a bolt action rifle and he goes like it's a semi-automatic. And I did not like that one bit. If somebody knows more than I do on this one, please fix me because just kind of
Mm.
burnt my
Ben
brain
knows
out.
more about guns than I do, so.
Well, lots of movies, you know?
Mm,
Anyway, okay.
yeah.
Well, great. Did you want to add anything else? I think I'm out.
I don't think so. I think it just, it was a fun time. Uh, I always love seeing stuff blow up and guys punching. I wish there was a little bit more of the like guys getting surprised that Christian Wolf is like a crazy
A
fighter.
total badass.
I
Yeah.
love I love underestimating people. That's one of my favorite tropes in a movie where it's like he's this guy and he kind of is socially awkward and he's very smart and so people are like, "Oh, like he's a nerd and he can't do things." And then he kicks your butt. Like I love
Yeah.
like I want more of that.
I wasn't totally buying the Clark Kent of that character so
Yeah.
much because I'm like, yeah, he still looks huge. Like I think
Yeah,
in that bar scene where when they're just about to get into the fight with that cowboy guy,
yeah.
I think the cowboy guy was looking up at him, which is fine, right? I look up at everybody. However, like it wasn't like, he's like a 5'2" little
Yeah.
nothing dude with, he wasn't me
Yeah.
and thinking I'm going to take this dude out. He was looking at this big old tall guy who's kind of jacked, right? And thinking, okay, I can take this guy. Maybe you can, but also maybe you can't. Maybe it's just because you're drunk. I
It
don't know.
wasn't like everything everywhere all at once where you're just like, yeah, like little guy beating up everybody.
Well, a short round. Um, anyway, okay, well, cool. Thank you. I'm so glad we got to do this. This was really, really fun. Maybe we'll go back and do the original one. And actually, honestly, here's hoping that they do The Accountant 3, and we'll do that in, well, maybe 9 years, however long it'll take
How
them,
long it takes.
however long it takes them. But in the meantime, thank you very much, and listen in for the next Max Valley podcast.